decades of dedicated service to India's defense establishment. From strategic planning and acquisitions to policy formation and international collaboration, she has played a pivotal role in strengthening India's armed forces. And today, she oversees critical responsibilities across the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Coast Guard, NCC, and other key national defense institutions.
At a time when indigenization, innovation, and self-reliance are shaping India's strategic trajectory, she brings a unique perspective on Atmanirbhar Bharat in defense, illustrating how vision, expertise, and leadership drive tangible outcomes for the nation. And to give you a glimpse of her remarkable journey and impact, maybe now play a small audio visual, please. At the forefront of India's defense, Dipti Mohil Chawla, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Defense, ensures our armed forces remain modern, agile, and mission-ready. For nearly 30 years, she has shaped strategy, acquisitions, and operations across the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. A distinguished officer of the Indian Defense Account Service, she blends strategic foresight with unmatched expertise in finance, policy reform, and defense administration. From digitizing pay and pensions for the Navy to streamlining audits nationwide, her impact is transformative. She has led major defense procurements, enabled indigenization, and advanced Make in India. Her vision extends beyond borders, from handling bilateral relations to shaping global defense dialogues. She positions India at the center of international strategy. A visionary strategist, decisive leader, and guardian of India's might, Dipti Mohil Chawla continues to fortify defense capabilities, blending resilience, innovation, and strength at every frontier.
Please join us in welcoming Srimati Dipti Mohil Chawla to the stage. A big round of applause, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. A decade back, over a period of a decade, I have been the one on a listening mode to all the erudite people that I see here, the senior military leadership, the business leadership, the strategists, and the industry leaders like Baba Kalyani Saab. And you cannot imagine the honor and privilege that I'm feeling right now to be on the other side and getting listened to. So thank you everyone for particularly DG Claus, Republic TV for having me over here. I don't like to talk. I like to really present what are the amalgamation of my 3 decades of experiences and make a connect between all of us instead of we versus they approach. We are all in it together. So Republic TV says nation first, and we in MOD say defense first. So the way we are working in the Ministry of Defense is that jointness is not something that we look for only among the armed forces. When we talk about jointness, we look at it that we all are working together in every part of the government, including the industry, all our stakeholders, so that we are able to realize the vision that our leadership has set for us. Unfortunate for the nation that this vision really got articulated 2014 onwards under the Honorable Prime Minister's leadership, who started with the Make in India concept and moved it on to Atmanirbhar Bharat. It has been a very thoughtful and a very deliberate progression to what all of you know, and I do not need to reiterate the importance of Atmanirbharta. So, Kalyani Saab talked about Manohar Parrikar Saab. I will tell you, I've had the honor and privilege of working with him. And it is a fact that what you brought out, both your January experience as well as your experience of what it took in America versus what it took in India. We need these kind of reality checks. I wish we had it earlier so that we realize what are the gaps and disconnects and we keep addressing those so that ultimately we are able to be strong, resilient, secure, and leading economy of the world. So you all know why Atmanirbharta is required. It is required both from the security and strategic perspective that we do not have any foreign dependencies in our global supply chain. We are well prepared in any eventuality and any operation to be able to run things ourselves. But we also need Atmanirbharta so that we are able to develop our economy and be the suppliers of the world and not the recipients of arms and ammunitions. What I have seen is that many a times the intent is in place, the policies are in place, the implementation lags. And why is it so? Why do you feel that a gun that you have developed has not yet got inducted? So we as a nation have an onerous responsibility to our honest taxpayers. When today we have a 6 lakh crore defense budget, of which nearly 2 lakh crores are for the modernization of the armed forces. That shows the government's intent and determination to modernize our armed forces and put defense first. But when we are talking about these huge amounts of money, there is a responsibility that we have to ensure that we are able to utilize the money, get value for money. We have optimal equipment induction. We have level playing fields. And we have a fairness and transparency, not only to our leadership, but to our citizenry. That is why it takes time. And it has been an endeavor since the acquisition processes got cast in 2002 to continuously improve upon the system, to cut down the delays, to enable ease of doing business. So now let's talk about Atmanirbharta, my topic. As I see, there are 7 important building blocks for Atmanirbharta. First and foremost, research, development, innovation. We have not to do lip service to that. We have to actually innovate. We have to actually invest huge amounts of money and infrastructure in research and development so that we are able to create our own products. And sorry to say, Kalyani Saab, not all industries are doing that. So this is an environment which we have to inculcate. Once again, I will refer to PM Modi's vision when he has infused so much of money, about 1 lakh crores in the defense, not in the defense, in the Department of Science and Technology, only to enable research and development. We have earmarked 25% of the DRDO budget to again promote research, development, and innovation. But there is a cultural gap in our country towards research and innovation. We have brilliant bachas, but if we look at all our institutes, we find that barely any research comes out from them. That kind of an enculturation has to start very young and early in life. It is not just important to crack exams and join elite services. It is also important for us to put our heads down and constantly research and innovate right from our childhood days. That culture has to come in. Fund infusion will just not be enough. We need that hand-holding starting from the youngest days of our life. So the first pillar is research, development, innovation. You all know that how important it is. As far as the government is concerned, like I said, science and technology has been infused with a huge lot of money. There are a huge lot of policies out there. Within defense, we have the policies of IDEX, we have the policy of TDF, we have the earmarking of budget. That is to foster that the first building block. The second building block is the skilled workforce. Skilling of our citizenry is very important. And just actually, I don't want to make any political statement, but we really have a visionary leadership. He's the guy, Honorable Prime Minister, who set up this skill development as a ministry, because he realized that in order for us to go forward, we have to skill our citizens. It's not just enough to do rote learning. We have to be able to use our hands and our minds to be able to construct for the country. So skill development of our workforce is very important. It should not be pegged to academic degrees. It just needs to be expertise-oriented sectors where we train people for doing those specific jobs, and we pay them well for doing that. Our leading defense industries are really invested in that, and I really appreciate your effort. Likewise, like I said, the government is also is committed to that, and we have lots of schemes and policies to enable skill development. That is the second building block. The third building block is manufacturing capacities and capabilities. Now here, again, the government is helping in terms of the PIB, the schemes where you are getting PLI schemes are there. Government itself is developing industrial corridors, is giving tax exemptions, giving financial incentives to help the industry to set up manufacturing capabilities within the country. We have been known to be a huge service sector. We do amazing coding and software, but that is not going to make India realize Viksit Bharat. We really need manufacturing to happen in our country. And if we look at defense, the only way Atmanirbharta is going to happen when we start manufacturing in our country. For that, we need to actually create factories within our country, which are being done. From the Ministry of Defense, we have created defense industrial corridors dedicated for creation of defense manufacturing in the country. That was the third building block. The fourth building block is the ease of doing business, which is where people like the oft-beaten bureaucrats come in, where we try and ensure that how best we can enable the environment and our structures and policies and procedures so that none of the stakeholders, whether they are the users or they are the industry, face any obstruction in their system. So I listed out so many policies that we are pursuing for that. Ease of doing business also comes from the fact that the industry comes up with an objective self-assessment. Many a times, the industry promises much more than it is capable of delivering. So any type of policy or planning or systems that we make, they're not able to take on. When you're talking about a single tender limitation, it happens because nobody's doing a self-assessment. Everybody will quote for everything and everywhere anyhow. It doesn't work that way. We need to have a self-assessment. And now that I'm working in the DAP revision, we are trying to find some kind of objective indexation of the technology readiness, manufacturing readiness, production readiness, so that we don't have the situation where everyone codes for everything everywhere, and then there is no realistic assessment. that is what delays projects. It is Army not inducting the gun is the problem, but the malaise lies in a lot of things. Despite ease of doing business, we have the limitations because there needs to be a self-assessment done by the industry, and they don't need to be undercutting each other everywhere at all times. I've lost track of the number of building blocks that I've talked about, but I think I'm on 5th. So when we talk about manufacturing capacities and capabilities, the other thing that is required is testing and certification infrastructure. That is a shortfall in our country. And once again, the government realizes this lacuna. So we've come up with the defense testing schemes. We've come up with third-party certifications. We are promoting that other than the mandated government organizations like the DGQAs and the DGAQAs and the MSQAs and the Naval Armament Inspectorates, we will create these facilities outside of defense where they will be able to do this kind of a certification. So we cut down the timelines of testing, we cut down the timelines of post-production quality assessment, and also have parallel processing. Right now, everything kind of gets channelized in the Ministry of Defense in a kind of a sequential assessment. We don't need to do that. We need to create all these facilities, and a lot of fund infusion is being done to bring up these laboratories. We have also opened up the DRDO laboratories for testing, for certification. We have tied up with QCI, the National Productivity Council. The whole idea is that there should be a plethora of labs and certification agencies to cut down the testing and quality assurance timelines. Right. Another self-assessment we need to do, and I don't think this will be very well taken by the Indian defense industry, is another stock taking, sir. That stock taking is we don't have everything. So we need to do strategic partnerships with a good lot of local control to induct certain technologies. Let's accept the fact that certain technologies are not available to us, and nor is anybody going to give it to us in a platter. So there again, the government, with all its diplomatic might, with all its negotiation skills at the military, financial, bureaucratic level, is working hard to induct technologies. Aero engines is one such example. So we must realize that, and we must encourage that, and also accept the fact that it is not going to come at a platter, but let's negotiate the best terms and conditions, bring in the technology, make it in India, and I'm sure within a decade we will be independent enough to do it ourselves. So that, for me, is the 6th building block. It should not be underestimated. Let us just not think that we can do everything at all times. Critical technologies need to be accessed, but they should be done at our terms and conditions with a whole lot of localization. The 7th. Procedure. None of you like it, but like I said, when we are talking about the whole responsibility to the honest taxpayer, you cannot dispense away with the procedures. So we need our procedures, but we need them to be streamlined. We need them to be adept. We need them to be flexible. But can we function without them? No. You move the procedure out of the whole thing. The people who are the practitioners and implementers will not be able to do objective decision making. So for me, procedure is not a roadblock. For me, the procedure is a building block, because that brings us all together. We have a laid down template, and we all work in that template, and we are able to work decisively, very independently, and achieve the goals that the leadership has laid down for us, and our commitment to the nation first and defense first. Coming to the procedure, it's just not the DAP and DPM. It's a three-tiered thing. The first tier is our Constitution. Let's not forget the Constitution. That lays down that we are a democratic nation. When we understand that we are a democratic nation, it all falls in place because you're first and foremost responsible to our own selves. It is by us, for us, of us. So, the Constitution. The second tier comes through our acts and regulations. So, you have for the defense, you have the Contract Act. You have rules and regulations like the General Financial Rules that lays down how we translate the Constitution to what we will finally do on the ground. It provides the template in which we execute our responsibility. The third tier is our procedure. The defense procurement, which are the manuals. So the defense procurement manual to make us work on the specificity of revenue procurements, and the defense acquisition procedure for our capital acquisitions. So this tier approach is what makes the military as well as government of India work in a structured, robust way to avoid the slips between the cup and the lip, so as to say. Okay. Some figures. 3 decades back, we were 95 to 99% importing. Today, of the 193 contracts that have been concluded last year, 99% are to the Indian industry. It is an kudos to all of us and the industry that we have, from a net importing country, we have become self-sufficient to be able to make it in India. And look at where our defense exports are going. The defense production has gone 300% grown from a decade back to now. And the interesting part is, when we look at defense exports, it is the private sector which is leading versus the public sector, which is another breakthrough that we are trying to do, is that we are creating a level playing field between the public sector and the private sector. We do not make any distinction anymore. There is no reservation, there is no nomination for the public sector. The private sector, open door policy, they are there for us and we are there to hold them. So these distinctions are helping us to create huge lot of manufacturing capacities and capabilities, and encouraging private entrepreneurship and innovation. Since Baba Kalyani Saab spoke before me, so I have to not counter, but give a corollary to certain points that you have raised. You had an issue with the single tender. I agree with you that it can sometimes be self-defeating, but first and foremost, the industry needs to do a reality check and do a self-assessment. Second, we as the ministry also need to have practical, objective indices to be able to do this assessment before we are sending out our RFPs, and we are committed to do that. The third thing is that it's not a malaise. Single tender is not a malaise. There used to be a time when we had just joined service, we were told, aggregate the quantities and send out a tender to get the best, you get the economy of scale and best price. And now I myself see, being the votary of, yes, aggregate the quantities, but let's tender it out and let's place the order to multiple people. Now, what is that helping us do? We are creating multiple manufacturing capacities in our country, we are able to ensure that in the case of any strife in our country, if we are not dependent on a single manufacturer, a single ordnance factory. We will have an ordnance factory, we will have 2-3 private industry, all are going to manufacture and provide to the armed forces. The requirements of the armed forces are humongous. The operational guys have all told you that. So, and in the rising conflicts in our country, we need to create that. So, please don't see single tender as a malaise. Please see that there are corollaries to it. And we just need to multiply all our capacities and capabilities so that we can meet the forthcoming threats to the world. We are 38 right now in the Global Innovation Index, and I request all our stakeholders here that we have to move up on this chart, because that is when we will really be able to be Atmanirbhar. This year has been declared as a year of reforms, and I don't want it to be a cliche. It tends to become a cliche. We start changing some policies and rules. No, we need to change our mindset. Like I said, for Republic TV, nation is first. For we in the MOD, defense is first. But defense is not about the Vardi only. Defense is about all of us. Together, working in that system without siloization, without having any kind of cynicism and skepticism about each other. Let us be upfront, talk to each other about our limitations, and really work towards eliminating those limitations. For that, we may need to sometimes, and this is to the people in the military, accept a peg or two down of specifications as long as it is Indian. So if we want it to be Indian, let's not always peg it at the perfect global specifications. Let's work at putting Indian products first, and whatever it takes to do that in the Government of India and the Ministry of Defense, we are committed towards it. The armed forces also need to do a little bit of stock taking, that thoda sa kam hai, but apna hai. I think that is all. You guys know it all. I can only tell you my perspective of 3 decades of seeing this whole transition happen within the Ministry of Defense, and it is good. I wish it had come 2-3 decades back. But we all need visionary leadership to, and it's a karmic cycle of the nation and all of us. So we finally have that kind of leadership. And in that leadership, if you're not there, I agree with you, Baba Saab, that in this, it is now. It is now we can do it. Otherwise, never, ever will we get this kind of leadership, this kind of commitment that I see all over, this kind of energy and synergy. And that is what Viksit Bharat dream will be realized, with all of us in it together, without any silos, without any mutual suspicion, and understanding the constraints and working towards it to jointly address the constraint. It is not my problem, your problem. It is all of us in it together. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Requesting you to kindly stay on stage, Ms. Dipti Mohil Chawla. I'd request at this point Republic TV Senior Executive Editor Abhishek Kapoor to kindly come up on stage and felicitate Mrs. Chawla. Abhishek. Thank you for being with us today, ma'am.